whoever and whatever, that in actuality they will bring back debtors prison. There's no doubt in my mind. Anytime a futile society is created, that's the first thing they go after is other people's energy. And to imprison people and have them work at hard labor and feed them, breadcrumbs, that's no problem at all. Because they're going to make tons of money utilizing somebody else's energy and then just feed them the bare essentials to keep them alive. And when their life just serves up its useful purpose, they're going to dispose of them. It doesn't cost that much to dig a hole in the ground and throw a body in it.
Does everybody know what Rex 84 is?
No.
Okay, you ought to look that up on Wikipedia or just Google it. Rex 84 was the government's ability to house and imprison large numbers of United States citizens. And this has been in effect since 1984. I don't think the government has given up that property. I don't think the government has given up the idea of being able to exercise that option.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's all over the internet, all the concentration camps they have built in this country.
Yeah. REX 84. That's what it was. That's what it stood. That's what it. That was the name. That was the designation it was given. And Oliver North tried to tell us about it. Not that I have any love for Oliver North, but he tried to tell us about it during the Iran-Contra, and Inouye and a few others stopped in the cold.
Yeah, he tried to take the focus off of himself by bringing that to light. Yeah, I remember that now that you say that. Yeah, well, that's all incorporated into what they've been doing for the past 20 years, building these FEMA camps and whatnot. Fort Indian Town Gap, which is probably about 50 miles away from me. It's interesting to look at it now. It used to be an Army supply depot. And I remember passing it many times on the turnpike. I even drove up close to it a couple of times. I had to meet people. It was a landmark that we could meet at. And back then, they had the barbed wire with the high fences, but the barbed wire was pointing out as to keep people out. You go there today, you see the barbed wire pointing in. So why are you going to have barbed wire pointing in if you want to keep people out? Yeah. And the whole thing that got me was that they put notices in the paper that they were closing down this warehouse facility completely. It's been completely renovated. Why did they sink all that money into renovating the place? And they're obviously not utilizing it for a supply depot anymore. And then all new fencing and everything.
Yeah.
They've got plans. And that's only one of what I think is like 164 concentration camps spread around the country.
Yeah. Well, the idea of this can't happen here, that's such a stupid idea because we've already got the history of that kind of behavior here in this country. In World War II, we imprisoned the Japanese, both the Nisei and Issei, or whatever they were, the ones that came over from Japan and the ones that were born here. I think it was the Nisei, the Issei were born here, and the Nisei were imported. But they went into concentration camps all over the West, all over the East and West, and the Germans and Italians, some of them went into concentration camps. Not all of them, but some of them. And it was a disaster. I mean, you're talking about pissing off an American for the rest of his life. That's exactly what happened. I mean, I meet some of these Japanese people today, sons of Nikkei or Issei, and they're not happy campers. They know what can happen. And then we got the history of the Indians. We had a General Amherst come out of Connecticut, I think it was, and he went in the West and passed out blankets with tuberculosis in it.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah, get rid of these Indians. They're useless eaters. This country has a history of this garbage.
Yeah, it was tuberculosis and smallpox.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Well, let me tell you,
but it's not even just this country, Richard. Look at what they said over in Germany before the Nazis took over. The Germans were saying the same thing. Oh, that'll never happen here.
oh yeah.
Sure enough, it happened. You could read in the history books that alone.
There's a quote that people like to use. I don't know where it came from, but it's it essentially says that evil can be accomplished when good men do nothing. And you know, as long as the TV gives us our favorite soap opera or situation comedy, and as long as the water it keeps running, and the electricity, you plug something in and it works, then we don't seem to care about anything. We don't care if 1 million or 2 million Africans become hacked to death with machetes. We don't care if 300,000 people die in a country that's not 100 miles off our southern coast. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
We're so brain dead.
you're
We can't
basically
we
saying
can't see
that the
the
American
we can't
people have become
we can't see the
selfish too.
forest through the trees.
Huh? Well, that's because we become selfish as well.
Mm.
Selfish and self-centered. If it doesn't affect us personally, we don't want to get involved.
Yeah.
When you go back to society breaking down, most likely due to an economic collapse, possible whatever attack, but most likely economic collapse. With the camps, I guess you can call them, or detention camps. It kind of goes back to I was thinking of the Grapes of Wrath, and you're going to have people are going to want to go to these things. That's the way I kind of envision it being. They may promise security, they may promise food, and if you go in there, oh, we got some work for you, and then you're working for basically nothing.
Well, again, you're back to the mentality of the average person in this country that the government is going to take care of us.
And that's what I'm getting at. These camps, they've been preparing for this. The only people that don't know about this are the majority of the American public. The government's been preparing for this. Halliburton's had a contract. You look it up online, to make these detention centers, and so they do exist. And they passed the act last year for these centers to convert military bases into these camps.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely not a theory, and they're there for a reason. So if you don't want to go to one of these camps, you have to be self-sufficient and you have to plan ahead, so you don't want to go there.